So today, lads, we're going to be looking at 5 realistic targets for free agency for the Indiana Fever. We are working under the assumption that these 3 are coming back. Lexi's coming back. Sophie's coming back. That is the assumption that I'm working with. Because if Kelsey goes, then clearly you have max contract free agent.
Working on the assumption.
So here's a phrase that should honestly terrify every single Indiana Fever fan out there right now. While everyone's busy debating whether Kelsey Mitchell is staying or going, there's a much bigger, far more critical question that literally nobody is asking. What happens if the Fever completely waste Caitlin Clark's precious rookie contract window by bringing back all the wrong players? That could be a disaster.
First player is a backup center. And I think Demiris Dantas' time at the Fever is probably done. I don't see Dantas playing with the Fever again, if I'm being honest. I think Bree Turner's not good enough. I just think in general Bree Turner's not good enough. So for me, Elizabeth Williams is a good pickup as a bench player.
Elizabeth Williams is 33.
She's 33 years old, and she's fresh off a nightmare season in Chicago, where the sky just spectacularly imploded. But let me tell you, the raw stats don't always tell the whole story. Angel Reese's defensive rating, believe it or not, was actually better with Williams on the floor compared to when Camila Cardoso was playing. Williams herself shot close to 50% from the field and brought a much-needed veteran presence to a team that was truly desperate for it. So, the real question isn't whether she's good enough to be a backup center. It's whether Indiana can snag her for something close to a minimum contract after that entire Chicago disaster absolutely tanked her market value. Because if they can pull that off, this would easily be one of the smartest moves of the entire offseason.
Starter. But this would be one of my things where I'm like, I don't hate the Fever doing this, but I don't see them doing it. So, the Indiana Fever had a player a couple of years ago that is the perfect player. A much better version of Tasha Howard. But it will cost quite a lot of money to keep her, and it's Temi. I still think Temi is the perfect power forward to play beside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. We saw it. The lineup of Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Temi, Aaliyah, and
2 years ago, a
lineup of Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hall, Temi Fagbenla, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell was, statistically, the best 5-player combination in all of basketball. Then, the Fever inexplicably let Temi walk. She went to Golden State, completely figured out her jump shot, stayed healthy, and became exactly the dynamic forward Indiana desperately needed. Now here's the kicker. She's a restricted free agent. The Valkyries are in a tough spot, trying to keep their entire core together on expansion team money, while the Fever, on the other hand, have a ton of cap space. This isn't rocket science, but it does require Indiana's front office to swallow their pride and admit they made a massive mistake letting her go in the first place.
And I have a weird feeling if they flame out on their A option, Natasha Howard on a near max contract is coming back. And I don't think you have a championship. I don't think you can win a championship with Natasha Howard starting and Michaela Timpson as her backup. I don't think you can win a championship with that because there are too many games. Natasha Howard is either brilliant or absolutely terrible. And the problem is that Natasha Howard does not play well with Caitlin Clark. So, if the Fever are planning on winning with Caitlin Clark, I think bringing in a Temi.
Here's the uncomfortable truth about
Then there's Natasha Cloud. The simple truth is, she just doesn't play well with Caitlin Clark. The numbers back this up, proving it without a doubt. When they're on the floor together, the spacing completely collapses, defensive assignments get confused, and the entire offense stagnates. Cloud is incredibly inconsistent. She's either absolutely brilliant or completely terrible, and there's no clear pattern to predict which version of her is going to show up on any given night. If the Fever are serious about building a championship contender around Clark, paying Cloud anywhere near max money makes absolutely zero sense. But here's the scary part. If they somehow flame out on their bigger, A-list targets, there's a very real possibility they'll bring her back anyway. And if that happens, that's exactly how championship windows slam shut before they even get a chance to open.
Then you've got one, either of them can slide in. Aaliyah can slide in about the 4 if she gets the 3 ball. Temi can slide in the 4, obviously. And then Sophie can slide up to the 4. So for me, that's your perfect rotation. Then you've got KK Timpson as a player. I'm absolutely fine with those 5 players sharing the 4-5. But it's going to cost quite a bit to get Temi out of Golden State. I do think in general that that Golden State, because they have to keep basically their whole team. Almost their entire team are free agents. So it's not going to be hard to well, not it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy to keep all their players together if you're the Vox. So
Temi costs 3/4 of a max.
Consider the contract, the strong pull from Golden State. Yes, that's going to be expensive for a player who was actually on Indiana's roster just 2 seasons ago. But you have to compare that investment to the disastrous alternative if they don't make this happen. What if Natasha Cloud returns? What if Michaela Timpson remains the backup? The Fever would essentially be running back the exact same roster that got bounced in the first round. The absolute best 5-player rotation in the WNBA would feature Williams, Fagbenle, and Boston rotating at the 4 and 5 spots, with KK Timpson as a capable emergency option. That, right there, is championship-level depth. That's the kind of formidable front-court rotation that can genuinely compete with powerhouses like the Aces and Liberty. But this crucial move requires spending money now during Caitlin Clark's rookie contract window, when the Fever have maximum financial flexibility to build a contender.
Who had a disaster season for Chicago. An absolute disaster season. But it all depends on whether you believe that this is Beck Allen or whether you believe that the Chicago Sky is a shit show. I think it's the latter. I think Beck Allen as a bench option is unbelievable. Is absolutely unbelievable. I genuinely think that Beck Allen could be a 6th player of the year candidate. She can play the 4, she can play the 3. She shoots the shit out of the ball. And people don't realize that.
Here's a name to remember, BK Allen. She actually averaged 27 points in a huge win against Dallas last season, 27 points when Chicago desperately needed every single one of them. Then, mysteriously, Tyler Marsh benched her. She started coming off the bench inconsistently, and eventually, the entire Sky organization just completely collapsed into total dysfunction and chaos. But when she played for the Phoenix Mercury, Allen averaged a respectable 7.4 points per game, shooting 36% from 3 and 40. Those are really solid bench numbers. She was even a starter on a Connecticut Sun team that nearly made the finals, playing under Stephanie White, and get this, that's the same Stephanie White who's now coaching Indiana. Allen shoots the ball purely. When she gets open, that shot is money. Plus, she's fighting tooth and nail to save her WNBA career after the Chicago disaster. All of that makes her an incredibly compelling minimum contract candidate.
With starter upside.
Forget how Beck Allen started the season. Like, if you look at game logs, like, there were games in Chicago, and that was the problem with her in Chicago, was the inconsistency. But if you look at games at the start of the year, she had 7 against the Fever, 11-11, didn't do much in this game, but 13-7-8. Like, that's nearly 10 points a game starting the season. Then had a big lull, and had 27 points in a win against Dallas, in a win where all 27 of those points were pretty much needed. Had a good, an okay run for a few games. It was just an inconsistency from Tyler Marsh. Like,
Kennedy Burke shot 41.
She shot an impressive 41% from 3 and 46% from the field last season. Then, unfortunately, she had a terrible playoff performance, and just like that, her value dropped significantly. The New York Liberty are now facing some incredibly difficult roster decisions. They simply can't afford to keep everyone. Burke might just be the player they have to sacrifice to retain superstars like Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu's crucial supporting cast. She's a true 3-and-D wing, which is actually a weirdly uncommon archetype in the WNBA. She's capable of guarding positions 2 through 4, and she's much quicker laterally than she appears. She even did an exceptional job defending Caitlin Clark in their very first matchup, and because of that one bad playoff series, the Fever might be able to snatch her up at a serious discount rate.
It's not going to be easy for the New York Liberty to afford to keep their team together. And Kennedy Burke might be one of those players they lose. The likes of Kennedy Burke, Izzy Harrison, they might have to pick and choose. If they want to keep Natasha Cloud, maybe they choose Izzy Harrison and say, you know what, we don't need Kennedy Burke. Kennedy Burke's not going to be cheap, because I do think she brings a lot of value in that 3-and-D role, which is a weirdly uncommon archetype, and it's an archetype that you need. She's a better defender than Beck Allen. I'm not going to say she's a better shooter. She's a better wide open shooter than Beck Allen. She's a more consistent shooter, but she's not a flame.
Letitia Amihira plays hard.
She's an absolute dog on the court. She runs hard, jumps, crashes the glass, and just consistently causes havoc for opponents. While she doesn't shoot particularly well yet, she's a much more polished and impactful version of Makayla Timpson. She's got great length, can guard multiple positions, switches effectively, hedges well, and is a true team player. The big question is whether the Valkyries are truly excited about bringing her back, or if they'll prioritize other pieces. If the Fever can snag her on a cheap contract, she immediately becomes a utility bench big who can realistically play positions 3 through 5. Put Caitlin Clark beside her, and that raw athleticism becomes even more incredibly valuable in transition. So, here's what the Indiana Fever front office absolutely needs to understand about this offseason. Caitlin Clark is on a rookie contract for only 3 more years. That is their championship window. This is the crucial time when you have a generational talent making significantly below market money, which in turn creates vital cap space to build a true contender around her. The absolute worst possible outcome isn't even overpaying for Temi Fagbenle. No, the worst outcome is bringing back essentially the same roster that got bounced in the first round, foolishly convincing themselves that just 1 more year of development will magically fix all the glaring spacing issues and defensive breakdowns that plagued them throughout the entire season. Elizabeth Williams, at 33 years old, represents a smart, veteran minimum signing. She's a capable backup center who won't embarrass you in spot minutes, shoots close to 50%, plays solid defense, and knows exactly how to contribute without needing plays called specifically for her. After that Chicago disaster, her value is at rock bottom, and that's precisely when smart teams need to strike. But let's be clear, Williams is a role player. She's not going to move the needle by herself. The real decision, the one that truly matters, is whether the Fever are willing to go after Temi Fagbenle hard enough to actually get her. Because Golden State is in a genuine bind. They're an expansion team, desperately trying to keep their entire core roster together, and they simply can't afford to pay everyone. If Indiana offers Fagbenle 3/4 of a max contract, the Valkyries probably can't match without completely gutting the rest of their roster. Fagbenle has completely figured out her jump shot, she's stayed healthy, and she is the perfect power forward to play alongside Clark in Boston. The lineup data from 2 years ago proves it that 5-player combination was the best in all of basketball, and now Fagbenle is even better than she was back then. The Fever let her walk once, they absolutely cannot make that mistake twice. Now if they somehow miss out on Fagbenle, if Golden State matches, or she simply chooses to stay, then the Fever need to pivot immediately to either Kennedy Burke or BK Allen. Both are legitimate rotation players who can contribute right away. Burke is the better defender and a more consistent shooter. Allen, on the other hand, is the flamethrower, who can get absolutely nuclear hot but also disappear for stretches. Burke shot an impressive 41% from 3 last season on good volume. She guards multiple positions, and she's a true 3-and-D wing, which is exactly what Indiana needs beside Clark. Her playoff disaster dropped her value, and the Liberty's tricky cap situation makes her available. This, my friends, is precisely the kind of opportunity that smart front offices exploit. Allen is riskier, but potentially offers a much higher reward. She was a key piece in the trade that sent Jonquel Jones to New York, and also a key piece in the trade that sent Alyssa Thomas to Phoenix. Teams clearly valued her, then Chicago happened. But here's the crucial detail. Stephanie White coached her in Connecticut. White knows exactly what Allen can do in a functional system. If White truly believes she can resurrect Allen's career, and they can get her near the minimum, that's a bet absolutely worth taking. The deeper bench pieces matter too. Letitia Amahir is a restricted free agent who probably won't cost much. She's a bit raw, but she's incredibly athletic and plays with relentless energy. She's the kind of player who can give you quality minutes in specific matchups without needing to be a featured part of the offense. But here's the thing about all of these targets. They're only realistic if the Fever are willing to spend money now. Not next year, not when Clark's rookie contract is almost over. No, they need to spend this offseason, right now, when they have maximum cap flexibility and the golden opportunity to build a championship roster around a generational talent who's making below-market money. The alternative, it's running it back with Natasha Cloud, foolishly hoping the spacing issues magically fix themselves, hoping the defensive breakdowns somehow disappear, and hoping that just 1 more year of experience is somehow enough to compete with the Aces and Liberty. That's not a plan, folks. That's just hoping, and hope is not a strategy. Championship windows are always smaller than people think. The Fever have just 3 years of Caitlin Clark on a rookie contract, 3 years to build a true contender before she commands a max deal and all that cap flexibility vanishes. 3 years before other teams fully figure out how to defend her, before the league completely adjusts, before that precious window starts slamming shut. So the question for the Indiana Fever front office is incredibly simple. Are you truly serious about winning a championship? Or are you content with just running a comfortable, profitable franchise that makes the playoffs and then consistently loses in the first round? Because those are fundamentally different goals, and they require vastly different strategies and completely different levels of financial commitment. Elizabeth Williams, Temi Fagbenley, Kennedy Burke, BK Allen, Letitia Amihiri, these are 5 realistic targets, 5 players who can genuinely make the Fever better, 5 players who fit perfectly beside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. And critically, these are 5 players who are actually available this offseason. The Fever can afford all of them comfortably if they truly prioritize winning over simply saving money. The question is, because in 3 years, when Clark's rookie contract is over and the championship window has sadly closed, nobody is going to remember that they stayed under the luxury tax. They're only going to remember whether they won or not. So which version of the Indiana Fever is going to show up this offseason? The version that's genuinely serious about building a championship roster around a generational talent, or the version that brings back Natasha Cloud, convinces themselves that continuity matters more than fit, and ultimately wastes another precious year of Caitlin Clark's rookie contract. Let me know in the comments what you think the Fever should do, and if you want more WNBA free agency breakdowns, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be covering every single major move this offseason.